Zero. All right, so let's let Facebook catch up a little bit, and I'm going to go in and check the sound and everything, make sure it's okay, and then we'll formally roll the show out in 1 second. That's
First time.
okay. Loud and crystal clear. Hello, Demetrius Vela. I haven't seen you in a long time, my brother.
Oh,
Peace love to you. Been a long time. You've been around Soulogy a long time. I hadn't seen you in a while. Okay, we got 12 people in the house so far. They're coming in. Zero. Sound is good. 16, 18. We got a whole bunch of people coming in here. 19. We'll give them about another 30 seconds. Law Stewart. Hello, how you doing? Delia Flores. We're going to roll the show out here in just a minute. Hello, Michael Van Patten. Christiana Adolphison. Teresa LaPrey, my sister, Gervais Wright. Divine Goddess. Good to see you. Marcy Duros. There's too many coming in now. Greet Camus, Leanne Wilson. Okay, we've got 38 people. It's been fast. Naveen, Netherlands is in the house. Donna Ellis. Okay. Hello, everybody. All right, so we're going to formally roll the show out. I see some new faces there, so let me introduce myself. My name is Todd Medina. This is the Soulogy Network, and this is our primary show. This is actually our 520th broadcast, which is a 7. So of this show. It's called Soul Speaks 5D. It's a conversation with, and today our guest is Honi B, a divine goddess. We're very honored to have you. Thank you so much for sharing space with us. Welcome to the show.
thank you, Todd, and Soulology and everybody online. Deep, deep gratitude from the depth of my heart in sharing this sacred space with you and everyone on the call. Thank you.
Thank you. And if anything should happen to me, you just keep talking. I'll pop out and come right back in. My signal looks pretty good, but sometimes it doesn't cooperate. But that's okay. Everything's perfect in divine order. Such a pleasure to have you here. It really is. I just found out about you just very recently when Rita Melchizedek sent me a note and said she had asked me to be on her show, which she's starting tomorrow.
That's right.
And I said, well, I can't do it tomorrow. I've got a couple of shows tomorrow. And I said, but I can do it next Friday. And she said, well, can you ask so-and-so and ask so-and-so? I said, yeah. And so then she sent me a note. She said, Honi B is going to be on with you. And I said, who's that? So we had already been friends and I didn't know it.
Right.
And
For a while.
yeah, and I didn't know it, and I don't really surf that much. And so the next thing I know, somebody had put a somebody. I'm expanded a lot since, as we all have. And so I guess last year I put up a post that said I'm all about love and peace, but sometimes I say the F word, and I guess somebody must have seen it or pulled it up or something, and then you made a post on it, which I really got a kick out of. And then I was writing you a note, a message, and you were messaging me at the same time. And that's how this works.
That's
So
right.
the last part of that story is that we agreed on 6 o'clock Eastern time. And when I went to go set the time for the pre-scheduled announcement, it was set on 5:55. I thought, well, you can't get any more validation than that. So I went ahead and set it for 5:55. So, I don't know a lot about you. I did visit your page, and I shared it with Morgan, like I said, and she said, and the picture of you and Michael, and she said, I know these people. And I said, well, I think we do know these people. I think we're going to be doing some stuff with them. So I was really excited as I got to know a little bit more about you. So I like to ask people, and I know a little bit about your story, but in case some of the people out there don't, how or when you woke up. And I know you had, like many of us, a very traumatic event or events, and yours involved, I believe, a car accident. Is that right?
There are a couple of them. So my first awakening, Todd, took place when I was 7 in the midst of a fatal car crash.
Wow.
And it was a profound experience, as many of these experiences are, because my parents, it was very traumatic, but the experience that I walked away with, that remained with me, was not the trauma at all, because my father, he was inside the window of the car, and it was a head-on collision, and my mother, the wheel of the car broke into her face. So they were out, they were in coma for at first I felt they had transitioned, because the other car, they died right away. But within this car crash, everything was smushed, and I was trapped in the car while the car was catching on fire. And within this moment of extreme sort of like trauma as a 7-year-old, I experienced what we call a mystical experience in our human terminology, where I extended out of my body into a very large size being. And I remember seeing my physical little self. However, I accessed my multidimensional self. And from that lens, everything was weightless, everything was incredible, and I was able to do what we consider not humanly possible at my size, where I was able to pull myself out of the car where everything was trapped, and pull my father with one little hand out of the car and rescue him. And then my parents went into coma, and from there, that window opened for me to be able to experience life multidimensionally. So being able to see angels physically, being able to see ascended masters, being able to see higher dimensional beings, and particularly mothership and other experiences. Meanwhile, I was, incarnated in Middle East, in Iran, so it was not very comfortable speaking of these. And another incredible experience from that was I was able to experience, for example, seeing the musical tone and the sounds of the flowers, for example, or the colors of the flowers, the colors of the music coming out of the flowers, and hearing their sound or their frequency, or how we would best sort
Yes.
of like capture that. So I was completely blown wide open, but at the age of 7, it's kind of difficult to contain that level of consciousness and what to do with it. And particularly, many of us come in, we have these experiences, and we are cracked wide open. But if you're not supported in our environment, it goes hidden. So at that time, it went hidden for me. But I was very aware of another lens that was doing the looking through me very early on. And, it helped also during the time of the war and the bombing and all of
Yeah.
those things. I experienced all of that until we migrated into United States. And um, there was a different consciousness present in me, and particularly being able to see one of my star family members was always on my side. And but that caused a lot of problem in school. I was
Yeah.
literally kicked out, and teachers my parents had a very difficult time, and they just kind of wanted me not to talk about these things. But I never realized other individuals were not experiencing these,
Yeah.
you know? So that was the beginning of my awakening. Then, just like many of us that have to suppress this just so that we can have also the third dimensional reality of the human experience in the teenage years in United States, starting brand new after losing everything, so-called. And then the journey went forward until another round of reawakening that took place, a few other ones.
Now, and that's a common story. Now, yours is a little more intense as far as being what your capabilities were at such a young age. But a lot of people that come on the show talk about how they had it young, and then it was shut down, and then then it was reawakened. And most people, it's on or around 2011, 2012. Did the same happen for you? Or were
Yes,
you,
I
oh,
will tell you, I actually died January 8th, 2012, physical
okay.
death. So I will share that. But one of the things that I like to share with you, Todd, I remember before even the car crash when I was 7 years old, where I would tell my parents, I remember being 5 years old, very, very detailed, telling my parents, um, but I came to Earth to help humanity. I
Yeah.
remember drawing portals a lot on the dining room wall and talking about the portal that I came in, and also always my little pot spaceship. So this was
Oh man.
very real for me. And also I remember Todd often sitting outside with his suitcase, wondering when are they going to take me? Why am I here? Like, why was I left behind? So, planet Earth for me has been like, oh my God, like I've been left behind here constantly. As a child, I always felt I've been left behind. Where's everybody else? And that has been the biggest probably challenge for me, has been that separation from that love from my family members. And I could feel it's missing here. Something is really missing in this environment. And it
Yeah.
was that family union. So of course, like you were sharing, many of us come and we do go through, we do sign up later. I learned we sign up exactly go through this tremendous traumas and dramas just to clear things, not just for this lifetime, not just our ancestral line, but also the collective agreement, but quite brutal. And I've had my share of brutality in this incarnation, which turned into appreciation later, where my consciousness was able to recognize the gift of it
Yes.
after the pain was able to be transcended into a different state of gift, is what I would
Yes.
call it. Exactly.
That's a beautiful description. That's an excellent description.
Because it is about the resurrection, the resurrection that we speak of. Many of us generously and courageously chose, I am a volunteer on the planet, and coming here was a very very heartfelt decision to be able to go through certain circumstances, particularly coming into that portal of Middle East as a feminine Christ incarnate, to be able to
Yes.
shift that. But my first experience of my light being affected was through sexual abuse very early on.
Yes.
That was that, to learn how to go through that into the forgiveness of it and to recognize what that power is. So it started really, really early. And then going through the real gift of transcending the density of the pain and the suffering and the hate and the anger into
Yes.
forgiveness and compassion, and really the perfection in the imperfection, experiencing through the divine lens to see, wow, I really accept what I came here for. So, and
Yeah.
the joy is then guiding the way. So,
Your story sounds in a lot of ways similar to Morgan's.
yeah.
And I know she spent about 20 years, the last 20 years, connecting in that incredible universal isolation and coming to the same epiphanies and such, and the development of her skills and abilities in those periods. You have a very wide versed um, toolbox as I'm looking at your bio. And did you receive the information and the expansion of your skills and abilities in that manner, or was it something that came natural? Did you have to work at it, or how did that go for you?
Okay, so when I first awoken at the age of 7 is the landmark when I call it. A lot happened during that time. So being able to interact interdimensionally for me was no separation. I never recognized like all the telepathic gifts and the communication, particularly one of the Arcturian elder that was always with me in that communication. I never recognized. I felt this was for everyone. I never
Right.
knew until I was be strange enough to recognize something is wrong with me, and I can't really communicate this. It's not safe because it's not accepted, and a whole lot took place, and there's a lot of suffering in it, Todd, as you know, because
Yeah.
when you're not supported in being able to embrace your early on gifts, you have to suppress it so much, and then you don't feel right, so you go through a lot of that until doing what everybody else does because you kind of want to fit in somewhere. So
Right.
you know
But, yeah.
and my one of the big moments in my life was at the age of 21 when my father transitioned, and that brought up a lot in me, and that was a big part of my sort of like suicidal times, because I really wanted to leave planet Earth. I
Yeah.
just wanted to be with my family, and it wasn't quite understood, and there was a whole lot along there. And the communication from spirit side has always been very, I'm a medium, but I'm a trans medium, and later on open up to a trans channeler, multidimensional mediumship, but in an incorporated way. So fast forward with the birth of my son, what happened is I closed the door very tight, and when my first son was born in the year 2000, he was born with, he came in with a very rare condition. And the first week of his birth rattled me and his father so much, Todd, that from that place, I knew this was a great messenger. So I opened the door back to divine source again, and I,
Yeah.
in a very angry way, I said, "You did this, and
Yeah.
you have a plan for me. You better show me. I'm not going anywhere." And that's when the mama lioness in me came out, and so that really took off. So a whole lot took place after that, because I learned quite a bit about what had happened to my son, and nothing like when you're a brand new mother, your baby is hurt, and then you realize what the US government does to its people through the products, through the GMO foods, through the health and the well-being of your child, and all the way the doctors told us all these horrible things, that he will never live, this and that. And that was the moment that week that I turned back to the power of prayer, and
Yeah.
I prayed with everything I had, Todd, and that door reopened.
Yeah.
From there, a whole lot, and my connection with my sacred goddess energy, my divine sacred feminine, began through the power of my blood, and that's when everything started.
Wow.
Yes, quite a
Wow.
bit of wisdom, because there's nothing like when we pray and we connect at that place in that alignment, and especially when it touches our womb, it opens up a frequency field that has supreme power in it, and that's what it began. From there, I went into turning the level of anger I had. I really anger through the medical establishment, through the government system, through what is done to its people, and I turned it into education, and I created the first holistic wellness, eco-friendly, conscious medicine healing center in the US that was recognized
Wow.
as the first socially responsible green company by Green America. And you name every certificate I got just to bring the education, because I didn't want another family to go through what we went through. And then I created my entire product line around it, everything eco-conscious, regarding our footprint on Mother Earth, to be gentle, and also what we put on our body, how it affects our health, how it affects the connection to
Yeah.
spirit, and
Yeah.
began my education and public speaking around it. But that was just the beginning stepping stone, because they start knocking and a whole lot of place.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off because this is an incredible story, but I love the fact that, I mean, for anyone that knows my background, it's been a little bit rough and I was a little wild and all that.
Yeah.
So that could be expected for me to speak to the universe, but it's so nice to hear such a divine feminine frequency tell the universe the same thing I did. Of course, I might have used a couple of F bombs, but but hey, you got me in this. What's going on? I need to know what's happening here. But
Yeah,
I think that's fascinating that you are right there in the center
that's right.
of the matrix, the false matrix. We all know the stories now. We don't really have to go back into all that stuff. I applaud you for your journey because it took a lot, I think, and takes a lot for people to turn away from the illusionary perceived reality and not be angry. I know I spent my first couple of years coming out and raising hell about everything, but at some point you realize the ability to transmute and transform, and create, which is what you've done. And I'd love to hear more about that. And we will during this broadcast, because you have such a wide array of things that you represent and have achieved and stand for. I want to ask you before we go too far, because I don't want to forget, what's your take on what's going on right now? We've had these massive energies coming in since the first of the year. This past 3 or 4 weeks has
Yeah,
been like warp speed. We've got a Lionsgate coming up.
yeah.
I'd like to see what your real time intel is on that. Where we're at, what's going on, and you had mentioned prior to the show a bit about the divine conscious unions and their role.
Yes. So thank you for that, because there is a whole lot we can go around this. So let me just bring you up to speed from this point, because when on January 8th, 2012 is when I physically died from an illness, a very rare thyroid virus that attacked my thyroid, but not so much from a place of surprise, because I really did want to leave Earth. And it just happened to be perfect, because there were certain things I was not able to um, publicly verbalize and communicate. There's been a lot of that suppression. So,
Mm-hmm.
with that being closed, when I physically died, I had the most incredible experience, because there's nothing like being a messenger of light, having experienced life after death, and who
Yeah.
I met, what took place, and the full understanding of my soul's presence on earth and its role, and the agreement to take part of the divine plan together with others. And from this place, the DNA shift took place in there. There was a lot I've seen, and we get into the details of it. So from there, it's been 6.5 years, Todd. When I was sent back to my body, they said I have to come back. I can't be with them yet. I'll tell you who I met later. So when I was sent back to my body, I was completely changed, and within 3 days, I was completely healed, which
Wow.
God miracle, and the medical establishment doesn't understand. But I knew what took place, and I took off. The first thing that happened was creating the red tent circles to be able to bring the wisdom, ancient wisdom of the sacred divine feminine that was shown to me, not what I read, what was
Right.
me and spirit side, the from Lemuria,
Wow.
from many other times, because there was, through my life review, I was shown many different lives that I lived on earth very clearly, and my role, and what not because I've been to a past life, but physically I was not physically in that dimensional realm, I
Right.
got to experience it. So from there, I was updated and sent back with certain abilities, is what I would best call it. And then I began getting on the road. So one of the things that happened, everything before that started becoming dematerialized everything. So a suitcase and a half, 6 years on the road, serving many different countries, many different places, many different parts of the land. And them, there's a team, I call them, telling me, just get on the road. We will show you what to do. And we want you to work with gateways. Now, mind you, I didn't know at that time what gateways were. I didn't know anything. Where am I supposed to go? They're like, we'll show you. What am I supposed to do? Don't worry, we'll show you. Just get on the land. So imagine I'm starting, I have no idea they want, and it's not like some very well-known places. They would show me in an image, very clear image of piece of land. They said, you have to get here, get on this here in this mountain, this time, there will be a person waiting for you. And
Wow.
we want you, I mean, it's very precise, and we want you to create the medicine wheel the way we want you to, and then we want you to go into movement. So what happened, I was the carrier of the Magdalene codes to start bringing the frequency of the Magdalene codes through sound and movement in very odd places. And I like, just like a absolute insane crazy woman, a lot of times they would ask me, because go topless or cover your feet or certain things, and start hollering all these sounds. That so I open up to all these sounds, and then these different languages coming through. So a lot of Antarians speaking through me. There's a whole lot that took place. So then from here, as a result, I have been working directly with Stargates, showing the Arcturian
Keep going.
elders showed me how to work with the Stargates. I've been privileged and honored to be assigned with the 8-8 Stargate, particularly 5 years in a row. Very
Wow.
specifically to learn how to go through the Jupiter corridor and then travel. There's a specific area in the corridor that you have to wait, and then you wait. There's a certain frequency that within this blue ray of light that we sit in, and then with Stargate, not everybody can sit in that frequency, and when it opens, there are these codes that come in. So as the codes are coming, I'm able to receive them and move them. So they are, how would I say? It feels very like sort of like matrixy. When the codes start to come in, at first they were 3-dimensional. Now they've been 6-dimensional. I'm inside of them, and then go into the movement. So they're dispersed properly into the certain grids where the Y and X axis are meeting. So then it connects. I'm assigned to the third grid system. There's several of us on the planet. Some are assigned to the first, some are assigned to the second. I am particularly assigned to the golden liquid energy, and that's the third grid system with the sacred divine. It's the Magdalene code as well as the feminine Christ code, so that this is through the stratosphere around Mother Earth inside, to be able to bring the unity Christ consciousness, which is the combination of the dodecahedron and the icosahedron, sacred geometry. So there's a lot of geometric patterns around this that I work with in expanding them through the 144 grid. So it's very technical, and that's why when I'm in the land, often I'm passed out afterwards, because what takes place is very intricate, and the closing of it. And so anyway, that's a
Now, did you do all this by yourself? Were you traveling
yes,
alone?
yes. So
Wow.
for a long time I was alone, and I was shown that my divine partner would be coming, because it started to take a lot on my system, that frequency, so that the masculine can assist. There were a couple of, there's one sacred divine brother I have that I would love for him to be on your show, because he's the one that's been on the land with me a couple of times. Incredible. Used to be a physical, a medical doctor, oncologist, that gave everything up to serve the Magdalene codes in the codes of
Wow.
light. Yeah, he's incredible. So we have served on the land together. There are a couple of them that I would happy to introduce you. So there have been 2 or 3 people that have joined me on the land, and often all they do, if it's been a male male encounter, he just has to hold the frequency and can't intervene in that space while I'm in that frequency mode. Once in a while, I may have to touch my feet just to be able to assist in me coming fully back into my vessel while I'm expanded in that realm. The multiple dimensional realms that I'm working with, and then bringing
Amazing.
them. So, but yes, there are, often it's been alone. Often it's been wild, Todd. It's been wild. Like, and then people, just like it's been many of us, like, and that divine perfection. I've had one of the most powerful stories I'll share with you. There was an image that Lord Metatron had come in and said, "We want you to take this part in the planetary service with Australia and this part region because of the sort of like the shifting of the energies, because there's been a lot of energy that's withholding sort of like Mother Earth's breath hostage. We need you to open it up." So of course my consciousness doesn't understand that, and they communicate in images and in
Yeah.
geometric patterns. So he showed me, and when they show me a vision, there's like a 3 screens that I see through. It's very precise, and but it has like coordinates, their coordinates, not the earth coordinates, and they
Right.
want me to find it. So somehow there's a lot of communication, and I found it. And this particular one, when I got to Perth, Australia, my sacred brother Adrian, I said, "Okay, we'll find it." And he's like, "Where is it?" I said, "I don't know. We'll go. We get on the road, and they'll tell me, just like they do." So we went, and it was incredible. Like, it took us 3.5 hours just listening, feeling, listening, hearing them showing images, and and their consciousness is different than our earth
Yeah.
consciousness. So it takes a while to get that language. And Todd, finally we found a place that was, it looked like complete desert, but it wasn't. It was lakes that had been, gigantic lakes that had been dried for years. So the earth, you could tell it's been cracked like a desert floor, and very no vegetation, just pain of Mother Earth
Wow.
you could feel. So they said, "This is the work." And beloved Yeshua had told me, it's always very specific instruction with Mary Magdalene. She said, "Cover your feet with white cloth. We don't want your feet to be touched by that presence that you're clearing." So we got there, and my friend said, "What am I supposed to do?" I said, "Don't look at me, look away, just sit as a male, sacred male, and just let me go into the movement." So I did what I needed to do, set the certain grid there, and then began into the hollering and the movement and the sounds and what have you. It had not rained there for 5 years.
Wow.
After we were finished, the thunder came, and we saw the first drops of rain when we were there.
Wow.
And then from there, Todd, he sent me 3 months later, the whole water had come back. So
Wow.
I can't tell you what that is. I can't describe what I do. All I know is there is a certain service that somehow this vessel, this borrowed garment, is of service in a very different way. And it comes to help just bring the balance. And it's the balance of the sacred, divine, feminine, where it's been missing
Yeah.
that love. And then from one place they send me, it's always changing. And I'm supposed to be in Egypt, let's say on 10:10. Then Mary Magdalene comes, says, "No, I want you to be in the four corners, in four corners in US on 10:10 instead." I was like, "What?" Like, complete change of plan. And so it's been an incredible 6 years ride until
Wow.
Michael joined, and we have done quite a bit together.
Now, how long have you and Michael been together?
So the hands of divine grace brought us together on November 16th, 2016, right after my Europe tour. And he had come to actually my galactic shamanic sound medicine here in Washington, in Baltimore area, and since then we became, right away we came together. Within 2 weeks we got on the road, 3 different countries serving, because he was told he'll meet somebody and he has to do work with this ninth gate. He didn't even know what that was. So I was already doing this for 5 years. I said, let's go. And we went, and there was a work with Great Order of Melchizedek that we had to finish with Anrita, which Anrita and I talked about the solar disc. So we went to fulfill that and clear a lot of the Atlantis energy. And there's just a lot around that as well. And so then we've been on the road ever since and serving many different communities, bringing people together. But when we go, we're just mostly serving the land first, clearing it so the frequency can hold. Then those who are caught in this higher conscious um, frequency, which is the sacred divine feminine, sacred divine masculine, in the oneness of the crystal's light, they come together. And basically, that's what it is.
That's fascinating. Now, when he's with you, does he hold space as the others did? Does he also do his own thing as well?
Well, he initially, he just said, he's like, what am I supposed to do? And when we crossed paths, I was because I've been very expecting, like, I was shown you be coming and you're ready, so you better be ready. I can't give you instruction because I get my instruction. You got to listen to your instruction. So he had a lot of pressure. But initially there was a little, like in Guatemala, in Tikal, when we went for 1221, there was the slightly, and we went and we received the message from the Council of Light that came through me, and very specific instruction. And then he was able to do what he needed to do with the sacred flames. And so he has really developed that side of him.
Wow.
But he already came in very supported, and with his, you would enjoy Todd, because his family from 40 years ago were the pioneers of spirituality in this area. They had people like Ram Dass and for example Barbara.
Melchizedek. I
That's
mean,
right. Yeah.
I know you
Yes.
talked about, yeah.
Yes. And like, for example, Jane Roberts and all of those, they were coming there to speak at their spiritual camp. So Michael, at the age of 7 or 8, was sitting in energy circles with crystal skulls. So he
Wow.
rocked with this. So he can really stay in the vibration, and he's had the experience of meeting many different ones when they come through me, when I'm incorporated, and he has to receive specific instruction and what to do with it. So he handles it very well, I have to share.
So what is the role of these divine conscious unions? What is the role of them in this, what we call the ascension?
Okay, perfect. Thank you for asking that, because we have heard a lot about the twin flames and the divine unions and what have you. And there's a huge distinction that I really like to make here, because I feel the twin flame energy has also caused a lot of suffering in many people from their third dimensional reality of really not recognizing what this is. That 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 energy is different than a union in form in this incarnation. The twin flame energy is an energy that must be aligned, united, the both energies within one individual garment, for
Right.
coming into that union of the divine alignment with Mother, Father, God in one. And from that place, sometimes they've had this agreement of the split to come together, each, assigned to different parts, and then come together to deliver. That's one
Right.
aspect of it. Now, on the other part, there's this 144,000, which we've often heard about, and it's a bit complicated from our consciousness of this dimensional reality, because it's actually very simple. in this fifth dimensional reality. There's several who are in this union counterparts, such as like you and Morgan, that have come together, Michael and I. We are the soul that have agreed on soul plane as volunteer souls to come here to particularly take part in the transition of this fourth dimensional consciousness. It really has to do with the fourth dimensional energy around the stratosphere on Mother Earth into its fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth dimensional reality. So being that bridge in which the heavenly realm is able to come through, but there's a particular union that comes in this, that creates this incredible divine illumination flame, because these two individuals have done their incredible clearing their energy field, so they're vibrating in their own tutorial field of divine consciousness. Then they come together, and then this frequency now is able to emanate through all of them, and it's for pure purpose. There's nothing else other than pure service to humanity.
Yeah.
And not all unions are in that. Some are just relationships because they have karmic agreements that they have to fulfill. The
Right.
divine unions are no longer going through that. They have come to just purely serve that humanity's ascension, which is very clear, and it is guided by the divine principles of the I am presence within. So it's the key is in that with each individual that comes in the unison and service to all. So it's service to all. Planet Earth, one part of it, but is the cosmos part
Yeah.
of it. So it's so much bigger and larger, and because that bigger and larger has expanded within the unions, these divine unions, and they recognize the true alchemy because they've had
Yeah.
to alchemize their state of being, and they're, it is a sacred union. It's so sacred. They're particularly, we get into that sexual energy is for co-creation of
Yes.
the greatest humanity, the new humanity, the new cities of light on earth. So when we go in this place of meeting, we're opening that space of divine that resides, just so it can come to the visions are given so we can serve from there. It's a very different consciousness. So
Yeah.
we have had to let go of everything to recognize we have everything to serve from the everything.
Wow. That's a great description. I've got chills running up and down my body. You're like an encyclopedia of ascension.
Bless you. Thank you so much, Todd, for I mean, I know you recognize it because we started a divine union couples. There are many that still don't recognize it because still there's been a lot of misunderstanding around the training within the Isis temple in the sacred divine feminine and what was done in the initiations. There's a lot that Mary Magdalene has shown me, and I feel so honored and privileged to be able to receive that, see that, and serve from there and bring that consciousness, just the recognition, this temple, this is the temple we're creating on earth. This is the
Yes.
holy temple. And this holy temple, every part of it, every monad, every aspect is pulsing divine truth. So if
Yes.
it's not received with grace of divine, it can't serve the grace of divine for its purpose. So
Yeah.
the sexual energy is a very sacred part of it, and it's, to me, like the flame is so valuable, and we don't have, it's coming more of the sacred divine masculine that can really recognize this and to stand in that presence of embracing this. So they are a huge part of the transformation.
Yeah.
And I really honor you because I feel you, Michael, there are a few others that really get this, and you're leading the leading front edge of the new humanity, the new sacred men that are here to create the new ways as us, the containers of that.
Yeah. I got to say too that, and I would love to talk to Michael, but
We'll have him on. We'll have him on.
yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's and Morgan, has been instrumental for 3 years in my clearing, and also in my, I had certain communion. I did have connection, and but there was also, I think, in the journey of the masculine, a lot of unique shadow, I guess. So what I'm saying is that it seems like we're in a period, which I guess these are reflections. These divine conscious unions are reflections of the energy of the masculine and the feminine, where the feminine is taking the lead, where that energy is teaching, that carried the wisdom, and he is holding space. I love what you said about that they're starting to understand the sacred sexual energy, understand their creator aspect and part of it. Does that make sense to you? Is that what's going on? I
Yes,
mean,
yes, and what you shared regarding this window period, my dear Todd, is the key. You talked about July, what's happening, and this Lionsgate, really, really, truly, what's happening. So I can talk very technical about the keys and the codes. Okay, so what? What am I doing about it? Literally, how am I
yeah,
living it? That's the key. So
yes,
this window period, let me just explain why this is so significant between the eclipses. Of course, astrologically and cosmically, we have a lot of alignments. What I feel most individuals don't recognize, this cosmic alignment that's taking place is the cosmic alignment inside that's taking place. So when we see, for example, these 12 rays of light that have been coming through, and the diamond codes is a huge one. But that is what is happening inside of us, inside the cellular structure, within the
yeah,
negative ions of our cells. That spectrum has opened up to the next phase of the codons of the rays of light inside, so that we can be the conductors, right, of the divine qualities, the divine compassion, divine understanding. So all the arts of divinity can open up in us, so we can just basically radiate it and live it, deliver, and co-create from it. Simple, very simple. So one of the biggest struggles, we talk about, wow, the energies have been intense and it's been so challenging. Why it's challenging? Because this alignment, let's say we're coming to this Lionsgate, this particular Lionsgate is so powerful. The way this inner sun, right, the sun, the cosmic sun inside, is connecting with our sacred grandfather sun, and the sun inside Sirius, the central sun, and then the galactic sun, and of course the source sun. So that's streamline. Okay, so this streamline, it, my flower keeps falling. So it keeps, what it is, it's that it is so high in its flame of perfection and purity. As these windows open up like this, it's purifying our monads, our aspects, our bodies, our templates. So that's what feels so intense, because it's been in separation of the truth that which we already are. We're not developing anything. We're
right,
not learning anything. We're just coming to what we already are, have always been, have will always be. But the flame is so powerful, because the flame, the fire. So it's interesting, this idea of hell that they talked about in Christianity. it's not this burning in hell, it's the illumination of its fire. The flame is so powerful. It
Right.
transmutes and transcends and transfigures. So that in which is imperfection comes into purification. So the purity then radiates, right?
Yes.
That's all it is. So
Yeah.
why we're having a hard time, and we get to it because the pain has connected us. That's we have incarnated to experience the humanity's suffering in its
Yeah.
separation. And we
Yeah.
have allowed it, of course, then we call it the dark energies, the dark force. Of course, it's had a power because living from fear and
Yeah.
anxiety and worry, it has its power. So now we're learning, we've developed that side so beautifully. I don't feel any of us can get any higher medals. All of us have fully developed that.
Yes.
Now we're developing that means actually bringing forth the light of our divine grace,
Yeah.
that I
Yes.
am presence, that purity flame. So by transcending everything from so-called past, which is also here, you see,
Yes.
and it's
Yes.
that oneness. So that's really this window. So the Christ consciousness, the crystalline light, the crystals light we talk about, the diamond codes, it's pure perfection. What it is just the radiance is so high in reflection that, as you have seen, when sometimes we're in areas that there's more density, there's this like energy coming out, right? Because it doesn't like it. It's a lot
Yes.
seen and revealed in that space. And that's what's happening on our planet. So much of the grace of divine, those of us who've been serving these different grids, the ley lines, for a number of years, have been serving. Everything has been set on all these important vortexes and also grid lines. So now the purification of the density has come up like volcano to leave, right? So
Yeah.
in the midst of a massive purification, but we have the choice to not stay in the suffering, but recognize there's the joy along the way
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yeah. That's amazing, and what you're talking about, the metaphor of the hell and the fire coming from the inside out. You know, I just got to say a funny real quick, because I told Morgan last night. I said I feel like I'm on fire. I was
Yeah.
talking to her on the phone. I said something's happening. She said, "No, you're just getting male menopause." But no, but
Sacred divine menopause you're having.
but I have been, you know, and I know that I'm a reflection, and others are feeling it. Um, you know, and I have to look at the masculine part because that's where I came from, and of course being front center, first seat
That's
with a divine goddess, but there just seems to be, over the last few weeks, incredible elevations,
yes,
quick, painful but quick.
that's right.
And even when I got off the phone with her last night and I walked outside, she gave me some good advice. She said, "Well, you're just defragging. You've gone through all these shifts, and your human's like going, what's going on?" You know, because I saw a completed moment a week ago of all my multidimensional aspects. I saw them. I mean,
Right.
I've gone through that before, but this was very different.
Yes.
And so all these things happened, and I walked outside. And as soon as I walked outside, and I'm not a stargazer or anything like that. I'm not a well-versed light worker, but I looked up at the stars and I saw Mars,
Yeah.
and Mars just like jumped into my body and said, well, "We know each other. Let's go. Let's
Love
go. Take it easy. Treat the human, you know, treat the human to." Yeah, she was joking, by the way. She
beautiful.
just, yeah. I mean, so yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, what do you think in your mind that we can expect? Is there a window closing, or because it seems like all these dates come up, but this eclipse is the last one of the year. This period seems to be very powerful.
Yeah.
What can we do to serve the collective better? I mean, do you have any advice on that, on an individual level, what we can do?
Well, uh, one very important thing as in a male incarnation, in the male form that you're in, I just really would like to address this. Very
Yes.
important, because the male consciousness that has for a long time has recognized divinity from an intellectual sense,
Yeah.
and it's been very important to then, so this streamline, when it comes in through the spirit body, then it goes through the etheric, and then it goes through this mental plane. It has to come through the emotional and then come into the physical garment, so it becomes
Mm,
actualized and realized. So
mm,
for a long time, this frequency has stayed here within this realm. It hasn't been able to come in because it has to come through. So that way, your feet, when they are walking on Mother Earth, so there's a gold energy and transfigures into the silver, then it is the connector of that unity, Christ consciousness grid, with each breath of yours, with each pulse in all of your organs. And can only happen when it's come into your vessel and it's in your breath. So why I'm saying it, because in the time of, let's say, Christ, breath was called spirit in Aramaic. So breath is everything, my dear Todd. And why, again, I'm going to come to this is because majority of the consciousness in the male has stayed here. So, feminine energy first came. It's different than sacred divine feminine. Then there are many that came into, transgender or gay bodies to start breaking these, and the children, the different rays have been coming to just shake all of these. We're talking about the fragments it so it can start to, the proper foundation can be reset. And then there are many of us feminine, the rise of the voice, so then we can be the carriers, right? Bring it forth. So then the male energy can rise into its sacred divine
yeah.
feminine. They must feel this frequency inside through the power of its heart. So it
Yeah.
becomes the voice of it. In action, it's the beingness of it. So you ask, what can we do? And that's what we're moving away, my dear Ted, from. In this new beginning, through this last eclipse, and then the new moon that begins next week, that 11th gateway, we're going, there's a lot happening as this window closes. This window is a part of a huge window of a 36-year cycle and 124,000 year cycle. There's a whole lot of cycles, which I won't get into the technical aspect of it. But what it is, what we are really coming into, the being of divine expression that I am, in my I amness, in my just I, the I, not this I, the I
Yes.
behind this vessel, the operator, not the cones and the rods of this here, the I, the capital I, that is coming into this garment so that it can do its work through.
Yeah.
So it does it not by doing, it does it by its beingness, the radiance.
Being.
The radiance
Yeah.
of it co-creates, and
Yeah.
it's always, and it's the key is through joy. As you are in the expression and the vibration, the frequency of joy, more you create and hear. And then that joy gives the ability to experience divine love
Yeah.
inside. So on May 19th in Smithtown, for my community over there, our community of light there, I had my Channeling the Masters event where in that particular one, the Syrian high councils came through me and spoke to the 30 participants that had come. So when I'm in an incorporated channeled space, Todd, I don't have a mental consciousness what takes place because I'm completely trans out, and I experience everything visually. So there were 3 dolphin humanoid being the Syrian high councils that were coming in and speaking through my garment, and they were educating the participants the science of joy, and sharing how for a very long time we've been creating through suffering and pain, and how vital it is that we begin co-creating through the frequency of joy by prioritizing joy above everything else. And that
Yes.
joy is the inner joy, to because that frequency opens the door. They were showing how it opens the key. There's a key that opens the door to the entire creation possibilities and infinite ways in which divine wants to bring its presentation on earth.
Yes. Very good. And I want to give you some validation too, because
Thank you.
I'm getting, it comes in waves, right? It's an ebb and flow, and the human chatter, it's going away. And I'm speaking for the men out, the masculine energy. But
Yes.
I will tell you that what you're saying is very true. As I try to stay in this space on a personal level, the
Yes.
joy. You asked me where I lived, and I told you I live in a suitcase and so
Yes.
on. And so on this journey, the last few years, it's culminating now. And what I'm finding is that the joy, it kicks everything in, including who you meet, where you go, what happens to you,
Yes.
what you see. And the other thing that I found very significant too is you described how it came in and how masculine held it up here in the mental and so on. Is that over the past week, I've had, uh, I've had whatever you want to call it, integration, where I'm actually watching my organs
Yes.
being, man, it's like your body's being repaired. We're
Yes.
going to go to the kidneys right now. We're going to
Yes.
go to the liver. And I'm like, what is this going on? I'm like, I'm watching a movie. I was telling Morgan about it last night. And I can't really describe it, but I know I saw it as a purification,
Yes.
as a purification
That's right.
that was actually a physical. It was more than a physical, but I mean, it was actually drilling down to a physical purification. So your explanation makes a lot of sense to a a flowering divine masculine or whatever you want to call. But yeah, that's great. That's an incredible explanation. Very, very succinct and concise and understandable. So thank you very much for that on a personal level. And
Of course, thank you. And let me share what you touched upon is very important. Todd, every morning I have a in my morning practice, in my prayer, every single morning dedicated. There's a sizzling joy that I sit with in the vibration. Michael does too. It's very, very committed. Every single morning and night, we're in the practice of only being with our divine essence and swimming in that deliciousness. That's what I call it.
mm,
Every single organ of yours has a pulse, and there's a pulse in which the great order of Melchizedek, when they came through that spoke, they talked about this pulse that is the same pulse that is when the divine mother of all creation has that in her. The divine mother cosmos of also divine mother of Gaia has it, and when we tune into it, we're pulsing the same, and there's this dance of the cosmos that we're moving with, and that is also in our organs. When we tune into it, each of them have a sound. So when we start tuning in this place, we recognizing the stars that is outside in our cosmos is actually inside in
yeah,
each of our organs, and they just want to interact because they want to be in the same dance of divinity's grace. And these beautiful vibration. So when you let yourself, what you're doing, you're creating this tutorial field around every single organ, and you are purifying it through this. So in this gave it the Blu-ray light, as El Moria last week came through and described this. The Blu-ray light, if you can also tune into the Blu-ray, it purifies it, so then the 12 ray colors radiate in the tutorial field around every single organ of yours. And from there, there's a gigantic pulse of synchronized harmony in your vessel. And from there,
Yeah.
everything is co-created with all the dimensions, all creation, but the creation of love behind it. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful when we can feel the gosh, the beauty of the grace of this intelligence,
Yeah.
that created love. We are
Yeah.
the spectrum of love. Like, wow, the awe and the wonder of our divinity, like, and that's what we're remembering, and that's what we buzz together. There's a moment we send a messenger, we're like, wow, like, what is that? We're starting to buzz
I'm
together.
getting one right now.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the tones seem to play a big part
Yes.
too. Like the one just went off there, but in the tones have been very different over the last week or so, the
Yes.
10 days, 2 weeks. And even like that experience with Mars last night. I don't look at the stars, it's very rarely. And I looked at it, and I looked at it like it was me, and I could feel it in my body, and it was to what you just said. It was like, I want to go with you.
Yes.
So I said, let's go.
Because you have been there, you've had
Yeah,
off-planet incarnation in
yeah,
that, and then you've chosen a human incarnation, and you're bringing that essence
yeah,
already here. So that's why it's connecting.
yeah.
Mine is Venus. Like, Venus is like, and I'm a Taurus born in this incarnation, ruled by Venus. So naturally, yes, yeah.
No, wow, wow. So tell us a little bit about what you do,
Okay.
because I don't want to close the broadcast out with it. And I would encourage you. We will Soulogy. We're a platform. This is a platform, and it's for people like you. So anything we can do to expand awareness of what you're doing,
Mm,
uh, feel free to hit me up at any time, and
yeah.
we'll go to work for you. So what do you do? You mentioned a center over there in the DC area.
No,
Do you have a
that was
place?
closed off. So let me share with you.
Okay.
We
Yeah.
are so a couple of things. Um, so I facilitate right now. It's everything is constantly, whenever they bring the next level for me, that's what I honor. Right now, I'm in this space of facilitating two things. One is channeling the Masters event. So that's a very sacred private gatherings that I post, and then helping individuals, educating them what those of us who are channelers, but incorporated multi-dimensional channels. So that means, like, for example, I am not a channel for just one being or one entity.
Yeah.
There are multiple ones, and multiple dimensions, but I also am incorporated. That means it takes over my body, and I become that whatever.
Yeah.
And then so then the messages come through, or the transmissions and what have you. So that gathering, because the frequency is very powerful, what happens is that everybody they have a lot of experiences and expansion. Okay, that's one part. The other part is Michael and I are finishing our book on channeling the master's teaching, where is the transcribing. It takes so much transcribing word to word, because sometimes it's in light language when they're speaking to word to word, whether it was the Council of Light or Great Order of Melchizedek or the Great White Brotherhood of Light or Saint Joseph, whoever. So we're wrapping this up so the book can become available for people, the teachings of what's come through, because that's my communication. And then the other part is I run a Starseed group in Washington, D.C. And I have felt over the years teaching, over the years having events, many different parts of the world. But in DC particularly, there's a big grid here that many of us have worked with. I found those who come, they're starting to suddenly, there are a lot that are speaking light language, but they have no idea what they're doing. They're just throwing things.
Yeah.
There's no discipline. There's no understanding. They don't know how to. They don't know how to receive what this language is. These languages are. How to bring it in. How to utilize it in a form of a healing and transmutation, transfiguration, and also the other part of it is to anchor it properly. So I have a very private group that I teach the channeling with the starseeds and also how to be very safe. So you must know who's communicating in your vessel. Then the last part is the sacred divine feminine, the Magdalene. So the Magdalene Sacred Hearts will be doing a Mara, she's amazing. We have the 1000 Goddess Gathering in Washington, D.C. on October 20th. Sacred Divine
Wow.
Masculine, Sacred Divine Feminine, right at the monument. And all different parts of the world can take part in their communities. This is to bring the sacred divine feminine here, particularly as the goddess, not the feminine movement, the sacred
Yes. Yes.
divine essence in trust and forgiveness and compassion and love. And so my group would be setting up the altar there. And so we have that here, and that's available. I'll have her on my live stream on Monday at 11 so people can learn. And any parts of the world, they can take part
I
simultaneously
was
on
going to ask.
October
Yeah.
20th. Exactly. And so with their circles, and there's a lot of dedication to White Buffalo Calf Woman, and of
Yes.
Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, and those of us who are devoted of the cause. I'm devoted of the cause of the divine, um, sacred divine feminine, Mary Magdalene in particular, and her sacred encounter alchemy with beloved Yeshua. Michael and I are very connected to that. So we have the sacred union divine couples that we teach, So
Hmm.
and Michael facilitates what I'll just share this. So last year, Archangel Michael came through me. I wasn't feeling well at all, Todd, and he took over my whole presence. I'd never had him speak through me, and he wanted to show Michael. Michael is a body worker, acupuncturist, and so he came through teaching Michael how to work with the vertical and horizontal axis, how to use the etheric also acupuncture to be able
Right.
to then also release the pains and suffering entrapped in humans from lifetimes, and then bring the fifth dimensional frequency into their body. So Michael has been fully dedicated to that. So when we go to different countries, different places, I facilitate the event and Michael facilitates the healing. So we get ready to go for our Europe tour. We go back to New York and then we leave in the September 8th for our Europe tour, different countries and teaching.
Very good.
So that's
Very
where we
cool.
are, and it's just my Facebook page. We post all the events there, and whoever wants to connect, connect. And if you're in your area, we love to come to areas to help support them. And very easy. Just for me, sacredness is important. That interaction. So
Well,
thank
we have
you. Ask me.
yeah.
Really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No, no problem. We have a pretty strong audience or following or group all around the world. We have pockets everywhere. So if you're going to Europe, for instance, we have lots of friends there, lots of powerful friends in Soulogy. So yeah, if you think about it, we'd love to help you, expand that if you're going to be going to Europe or
Thank
whatever
you.
you're going to be doing.
This is
Yeah,
the fourth year. I have community in London, south of
yeah,
France,
yeah,
and Turkey and Dubai and Spain. So I've been serving there the last 4 years, and
yeah,
so but we're looking forward to other communities to go and serve.
yeah.
So we're open
Well,
to that. They can reach
yeah,
out.
yeah, if you're in the area and we know where you're at, I'll put the word out. I
Yeah.
want to ask you. I
Yeah.
want to ask you something. and get your take on it, because you kind of touched on it with the light language. But um, I'm obviously in the chair that I sit in, Sology at 7 years. I see a lot of people. I see the energy of the people,
Yes.
of the masses, and so a lot of people are really starting to wake up.
Yes.
They really are, and there is a kind of a vibration of, oh my God, I don't get this, or like you were talking about the light language, or this is happening to me. A lot of times people will make comments like, oh, now I'm not the only one. I realize I'm not the only one. I feel better. But you were talking about the constructive aspect of explaining to them in regard to the light language. I'm speaking in general terms. So my question is, what would you tell people who are just waking up? They know something's going on. They know their multidimensionals are getting involved. They know they're integrating, and their human is doing all that. And so, what would your advice be to someone like that?
Such a great question, Todd. First is compassion. Have compassion for yourself, because there's been the limited part has been operating for a long time and struggling. And just be gentle, not beating oneself ever. Just very gentle as you go. And also recognize, I feel like for me, from a personal sense, feeling so, I was so crazy. Just I always felt I'm just so crazy. Like it just like
Yeah.
maybe I should be locked up. What are these things I see communicate? I want one day I looked at myself in the mirror, Todd, and I said, maybe I'm crazy awesome. So I really myself, and then I began little by little, I would say little by little, begin to fall in love with you, with the essence that is you. I feel it's
Yeah.
very important. There's an idea we have to love oneself, but loving not from the small human self, loving that divine that is in every particle, every cell, every molecule, every atom, every transmitter, neurotransmitter. I feel that love will be the container that will hold this journey, because you encounter so much, because slowly all the matrix inside is collapsing. And so everything that you have created based on the third dimensional reality has to crash. So
Right.
congratulations to all of you that lost everything, like I myself. They did it. Everything you have to do
Mhm.
is you have to lose everything to come
Yeah.
to know you have everything. And now you
Yeah.
start with the proper foundation of divine, and you build on that. So a lot of compassion, I feel, is good. Self-love is very important. Support group is so vital around this, and
Yeah.
also embracing the range of energies and motions, because especially all those things that are repeating over and over, is because loving universe is not against you. Loving
Right.
you girls loves you so much, is bringing it, because it's been so deeply buried. Now finally, as you are, for example, aligning more, finally you're strong enough to handle the energy, so you can be back in motion, you can be
Yeah.
free and clear. So I feel that support is very important, the wake and light language. So when I started seeing, I'll share this, when I started seeing all the transmission codes coming in, and I was seeing, for example, interdimensionally into the human body, into their organs, I could see like literally like x-ray into everything, and then start seeing it. On top of it, the craziest thing was I was seeing the geometric patterns of the keys and the codes into humans. It was making me crazy, Todd, like really crazy. Like I just want, and especially imagine I'm on airport, so much airport, all I see is geometric patterns in people. I'm like, shut this off. I don't want to see the geometric blueprints of people. It's making me crazy. So I had to learn how to ask ascension team to also be gentle with me. So
Okay.
my physical eyes have been shifted. So one is looking this way a little bit, one is this way. I know Anrita's that a few of us who are seeing interdimensionally, there's adjustments in our body. Learn to communicate. Like when I was experiencing physical, a lot of discomfort, learn to communicate. Can you please be gentler so I can go through this easier? So I've had to learn that communication with the ascension team, because
Yeah.
they are a team. They're not over here. Like when I sit with the councils, we're right here. So I show up, okay, here's what's going on. I need help with this. And then they assign, okay, we help you with this. So I've had to learn this. It took a long time, Todd, but to learn, this is what I want to share. Just one moment. I really want to share this.
Yes.
Tiha ku urukura ia tiahi. Ishataya urukura taya iahi. Ayakuta ayati irakuata. Ishiruru kura ayahi. The love for us in human form is beyond we can ever comprehend. They are in such gratitude for our service in the human garment here. So please recognize you have assistance that is here to support every step out of the way. And you must just ask for the assistance and ask for it to be received in the best way in which you can receive, so you don't deny it, because
Yeah.
there's a huge team. Each one of us have gigantic teams. So that's when we have a gathering, wow, the ascension team are changing data files shared between us. It's beautiful party, and that's why we feel so good when we're with each other. Learn, ask to communicate. When you go to bed, please, I need assistance with this thing. Recognize and own your responsibility as a part of divine plan. There's a prayer that goes, God made me as I am, part of creation's plan. No one can ever be the part of that plan that is me. And that is such truth to me, because when we own the responsibility, we show up in that place.
Yeah.
And from there, then we can ask for things to be communicated more clear, translated better, and also assigning tasks. The angels particularly are phenomenal. There are many things that I don't even before would bother. I right away, I need help with this, and I just release it, and that's it. And the breath
Yeah.
is the key, because that means you're connecting with spirit. You must relax in that place. The worry, anxiety separates you, because it's not divinity.
Right.
I hope
Excellent.
that helps.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. I totally resonate with that. You know, I
beautiful.
was given 7 years ago, never underestimate the power of one unique and equal soul. And I understood what that prayer was saying way back then in my shadows and my journeys that we all had. This has been a magnificent broadcast. I look forward to collaborating with you again. I look forward to uh, meeting Michael.
Yes.
And I know at some point, yeah, well,
I will
you know,
connect you both, because he's in the leading front, just like you taught. This experience of his father transitioning to spirit side, he's been very communicative. Every single emotion he faced so deep, me by his side, but him
well,
like go, and then to be able, before he transitions, so he can have a voice and communicate it. And it's been, and really the grace of beauty. And of course, I'm a cheerleader for anybody that crosses, because I can't wait till I leave my body again. And my gosh, being that incredible ecstasy, that truly ecstasy, and being with the Golden Council of 12 again, being with everybody again. It was just incredible. They've told me where I'll go back once I finish the work. I have to wrap this up. And and Michael has been really having a voice. So he's really coming from his sacred, he's really embraced his sacred, divine, feminine and voice,
Right.
and that power. And I feel he has some powerful things to share, because I always tell him, I say, you have a huge responsibility as a leading man for humanity. And he's really take that up on, and it will be an amazing communication with you both. And the couple of others who served the land with me, I would love to introduce you, because they're phenomenal. Just in deep gratitude of what we have collaborated with.
Yes, absolutely. Anyone that anyone you can send. This is what we're here doing, and I'd love to have you guys on, because I don't think there's enough exposure of Divine Conscious Union
Yes,
couples out there.
there isn't. I would love
Yeah.
for us
So
both to be on.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And on behalf of everybody out there, for those of you who don't know, Michael's father transitioned.
On
So we
Saturday.
send a healing, peace, and comfort, love to him and his family. Thank you so much, Goddess, for coming on. It's a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you next Friday, a week from tomorrow, on Anrita Melchizedek's program. And I look forward to further collaborations. I really do. Thank you so much.
That's perfect, because we'll be just coming from serving 8/8 Stargate. So I should have some insights to share.
I think it's going to be great. Yeah, I think it's going to be great. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Collecting. Thank you for creating this platform. I'm so grateful, Todd. And thank you for so many of our beloved friends and family that joined in just to be in this frequency. And thank you.
Thank you. You take care.
Yes. And my love to Morgan, and we'll see each other.
Okay. See you later. See you later, everybody. Thank you so much, Honi B. We'll see you. Bye-bye. Thank you.